Welcome back, folks. Players who like to crack packs and shuffle up stacks of Magic the Gathering cards. Solidarity. That's the word we're going to discuss today. It is a term that's used to describe the awareness of a group of people to come together in a situation and stand with one another in a community in order to support a cause that they love and they care about. Now, with the recent layoffs over the holidays, it made me think about the different levels at a company and management, and then the workers who work there, and then the community of gamers and YouTubers and content creators and players that buy the product and support the product. And the layers of solidarity between the three of them seem to be disconnected. So let's just take a look at the management layer over at Hasbro, who laid off 1,000 workers over the holiday season. Mark Rosewater continues to do his Drive to Work podcast on his way to the job and be a media outlet for the card game and interacting with the public. How are those 1,000 people feeling right now when they're out creating their very first Driving to My New Job interview podcast? Doesn't seem to be a lot of motivation when you're in upper management and you're in game design or you're an art director. So long as you can keep doing the things that make you happy when you work at your job within the company, you don't really care what happens in the other levels of the people who work there. Now, some of these folks in the upper management wear several different hats. I mean, it's not unheard of to have somebody refer to themselves as the lead game designer. And when I perform that job, I got my lead game designer hat on, and I'm game designing with all you folks. Let's get some ideas in here. New sets coming out. Let's table this. Let's make it great. All right. But then you get on to some of these levels of upper management where, and the game designers, they have some solidarity amongst them. You know, we're all in game design. We've all got the game designer hat on. But some of them also go out and they do media outlets and they do forward facing statements and they make Twitter posts and they make videos. So they become somewhat of a public interface between the company. And that's the other hat that they wear. Now, this is a little different than the other people who are just public media outlets. They have the public media outlet hat on. That's the one that they wear, and they high five all the other public media people in their team, right? And there's some solidarity amongst them, and they want to keep making articles and content and finding content creators that are great that they want to work with. But that's the only hat they wear, and they look pretty cool. But in entereth the room our lead game designer or our corporate executive who's going to start giving public making statements wearing both hats. Do you see what starts to happen here when you start wearing more than one hat in your job and you've got different levels of solidarity amongst those positions? Well, you can just imagine what will happen once you put on the third hat, ladies and gentlemen. You begin to look pretty stupid. So now you're going to be organizing magic events and you're going to be doing stage presentations and you're going to be talking to the public and telling them, hey, when I've got my lead game designer hat on, that's all I think of. And I've got your best intentions in mind. But then I've also got my public media attention hat on and I'm wearing that at the same time. And then I've got my convention organization hat on and promotion hat on. I'm wearing that at the same time. I look so stupid, you almost can't believe a word I say. And that's how this works, folks. So, creating standards, objectives, and sympathies, and a sense of unity for groups of people that work or have a common interest, it ties them together socially, and generally speaking, it gives them a sense of power in the workplace. So, where were the other employees when the 1,000 layoffs came? Did they just carry on business as usual? Was it just move your desk just a couple of feet forward because you got a little more office space than you had before? Well, I come from a day and a working class and an age where if there was something that upper management came down onto the floor and tried to put on the people who were running the operation, either a new standard or something they had to wear, or even cutting hours or changing changing major things around the workplace, there would be a level of solidarity amongst the workers. In fact, if a group of people were subject to a layoff and it wasn't felt like it was needed, there would be a wobble, or people would just walk off the job and say, you know what, we're going to, because not only is this a place that I don't want to work at because they do that type of thing, I could be next. So that's like worker solidarity. And I don't see any of that happening. After reading some articles about the interviews with one of the workers who got laid off, you get to get a bit of a feel that within the company there's like these layers. And it's like that with every company. But when those layers are broken up and there's no solidarity holding them all together as a unit, this is when trouble happens. And as somebody who visited the Wizards of the Coast Gaming Center in Seattle, long before Hasbro even bought the company, there was a different type of mindset and solidarity and a direction together with the player base that was sort of like the magic of going on an adventure together. So, what can the middle working folks do? I mean, the one option is they could walk off the job. The other option is they can unionize. Now, to me, I'll tell you why I think this is a bad thing, because I've seen it happen before. If there's no solidarity over here in an independent workplace where people will stick together, 1,000 people get laid off, well, maybe we could make that 500, but the result of that is another 1,000 or 2,000 people walking off the job. If they go to unionize, what'll probably happen is they're going to sell the company, or they just lay everybody off that's there and get rid of them and start fresh, because they're probably not going to want that up in the top end of the corporate management level of solidarity. Unionized workers, not a good thing. People organizing, they don't want to see it. Union dues, collective agreements, and working under a blanket sort of job contract, that's something that I don't think is going to happen. And if it was ever put on the table, the minute that happens, usually there's a gut shot reaction where everything either goes to the sale, or there's a clean house and a clean slate and everybody just starts all over again and it's business as usual. So, how replaceable are some of these folks that work there? They must only wear one hat, I'm thinking, because these were middle to the lower tier workers who got laid off. Now, let's talk about that other layer of solidarity, the player base, the community, the people who buy the product, the YouTubers who go out and shill or sell or promote or do gameplay, and the different levels in there and the solidarity that holds that level together. This is where it gets really bad, because if management isn't supporting upper level decisions in a direction that coincides with the bottom level of solidarity, which is the consumer base, the people in the public sphere that are making videos about the product, that are opening it, that are trying to promote events, if they're moving in the opposite direction, that causes waves in all levels, because everybody wants to see these 3 layers of solidarity working in unison towards a common goal: happiness, prosperity for the game and for the players who love it. So what happens in there? Well, it begins to separate a little bit more, because you've got some people who are in the public, general public players. They're either going to stick with the game, or they're just going to quit or take a break or sell out of Magic altogether. And then there's the hardcores that'll keep finding a way to play, keep finding new formats, and continue to play either in their play group, but not engaged with the corporation by buying new products as they come out and getting the latest and the greatest secret layer that may be happening this year. And there's probably going to be some great ones. And then there's a few different levels of aggregate that start to sift out and float out in between there. And then there's the content creators that have been in this game for a long time, unlike myself, been in it for maybe 5 or 10 years and have been diehard Magic the Gathering content creators. They're probably not on the ambassador program, but they're probably independent people who love the game and either don't play it or give commentary on it. They're not going nowhere. They're like the bedrock that the folks who play the game stand on. And then there's the other content creators in between who will say and do anything that the level of solidarity up on the top of the corporation will ask them to do. Here's a new secret lair. I'll promote it. Here's a new release schedule. Here's a bunch of artwork that, it's AI generated, but we're just going to say it's not. Here's a bunch of products that you can't pay for because there's just so many of them. And we just need you to say that this is a good thing. Get out there, act like you're having fun, show up on the internet every single day and smile, and just eat that spoonful of upper management pablum and keep just going with the flow and pumping the products. And in reward for that, we will also help promote you by giving you more likes, more social media prowess and prominence and circulation, events like the ambassador program. And I'm sure there's some great ambassadors out there, but it's debatable whether at this point in time, upper management is trying to figure out a way to get into the creation space and just basically make their own group of independent media creators. So once things happen at the top that the bottom player base doesn't agree with, it may just skip a level and if not affect the people who work there until it does. So who's going to stand for the 1,000 people who got laid off? Maybe they needed to lay off 1,000 people. Maybe they were overstaffed. Maybe they had 20 people pushing a broom around the office and they only need 1. It's hard to know because you don't know these people personally, but perhaps layoffs weren't necessary if the ship was sailing in the right direction. Is it up to the player base and the independent community and the content creators to stand up for them? Or is it up to the other half of the workers that work there, or another 75%, to stand in and say, you know what? We're cleaning out our desks. We're going to find another place to work, and we're going to let you folks deal with the staffing problem because we're going to take our skills and our knowledge and what we know about gameplay and our experience with us. Unless they don't have any, that's not going to be a problem. People have lost jobs. I've lost plenty of jobs in the past. You get out there and you find another one. But the problem with the brand that's been created over the last 30 years, and it's also a blessing and it's also a problem at the same time, is because it's like working for one of those really big name brands that it's like your dream. I've always wanted to work at NASA. I always wanted to make it into the NBA. It's the hallmark of collectible card games brand that goes with the Magic the Gathering. And people would probably not want to leave their position there because they've been in disbelief that they had an opportunity to work at their lifelong goal And they're the company that they've always wanted to work for, and it was short-lived, and they're gone. Where at the same time, the upper level of management seems to have all the solidarity they need, as long as Mark Rosewater can still keep making his Drive to Work podcasts, while the other folks that got laid off are making their Driving to My New Job interview podcasts. Everything is going to continue on and be just fine. Unless we see some solidarity, put that in the comments section below, and let's help the channel grow. If you like this video and you want to see more talk or discussion videos on Magic the Gathering, and just share my opinion on the way I see things happening and developing for the new year, hit the subscribe button. Thanks again for watching, and we'll talk to you again real soon.